What's up, everybody, and welcome into the newest episode of Crunch Time with Kruck. Today, we are joined in the booth with none other than just Mad Max, Max Williams. Max, how you doing?
Doing good, Kruck. How you doing?
Good. We are joined with another guest, the Donnie Berry Jr. How you doing, Don?
I'm doing really good, Kruck. It's an honor to be here. I'm glad to be here today.
You know, we've been talking about this for a week, a little longer than a week, and we're going to get to it later. It is going to be our fantasy draft, but we're not going to ruin the surprise just yet. We're going to start off with the normal stuff. We're going to go over NFL. You know, NFL's in midseason form. Max, who are you looking at to be your Super Bowl likelies right now? Give me your short list of teams.
Right now, I mean, obviously in the AFC, the Chiefs are one of the top teams, right? They just won this past week over the Jaguars, 27-17. 7-2 right now. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes still being the quarterback that he wants to be, having Juju Smith-Schuster coming more alive as the season goes on. Another team to keep an eye on, the Bills and Vikings game from yesterday. I thought Kruck was one of the best games I've seen in a while, right? Game went all the way to overtime. Josh Allen, some people didn't know if he was going to play in that game, right? And I still think the Bills are going to be there, right, as a team to watch. But if Josh Allen can't, fix himself up, right, with these turnovers and mistakes and trying to not close games when it's in overtime, it's going to hurt the Bills as a team as a whole. And the Vikings as a team, I really like what the Vikings are doing. I like Justin Jefferson, how he's progressing as the season goes by. Dalvin Cook, I mean, yeah, he had a big run on occasions, but when they need to have balance on their offense, he's there. I think that's very important to watch as well. And just another team, too, I mean, Cowboys, I mean, they did lose to the Packers, but I still think they're going to be a threat possibly in the NFC. I mean, you never know with that defense with Micah Parsons. I think they would be a threat to watch as well. And then let's see, another team, obviously the Eagles. You can't sleep on the Eagles. They play tonight on Monday Night Football. We'll have to see, though, if they can keep it going as the season goes by. Remember, I think last year, I believe, the Cardinals were in this similar situation, right? Everyone was talking about the Cardinals, Kyler Murray and everything. Then they lost like 5 or 6 games straight. I don't think the Eagles are going to be like that, but hey, you just got to keep in mind as obviously the season goes by and obviously getting into playoffs if the Eagles don't choke as the season goes by.
Absolutely. I mean, the Eagles are sitting 8-0 right now. The only other team with 8 wins is the Minnesota Vikings. They're 8-1, and I mean, Kirk Cousins, I don't even know what to say. He's playing at a different caliber than he's been playing any year prior. So, I mean, he's just different right now. But my Super Bowl likelies are the Eagles, the Vikings, and the Chiefs. I think those 3 teams are, likely to make the Super Bowl for either AFC or NFC. The Chiefs would be my pick for the AFC. At the beginning of the year, I mean, I wanted the Bills to do it. I really did, but the Bills just dropped, too many games recently. They're 6-3. It just
2 games.
2 games straight. I mean, it's tough. The Dolphins, I had no idea at the beginning of the year, but they're picking it up. They're still not one of my Super Bowl likelies. My playoff locks, the teams that I know for sure are going to make the playoffs, I'm going Dolphins, Bills, 49ers, Seahawks, Bengals, and Ravens. Now, the Seahawks, when they got rid of Russell Wilson, everybody thought they were just going to be tragic. But, I mean, Geno Smith, he got the keys to the offense, and he's taking control. Yeah. He's not looking back. He keeps moving forward. The Bengals have been on a little bit of a skid lately, but I think they're going to be able to turn it around, currently 5-4. If they can run the table for the next 3, 4, 5 games, they're going to be locks. The Ravens, I mean, Lamar Jackson, you can never sleep on him. He's got more rushing yards than some NFL running backs. He's got more passing touchdowns than some of the great current NFL quarterbacks. And, I mean, he's just outperforming most quarterbacks in his class. But the 49ers, with their heavy-hitting offense and their defense staying above par, they're going to be a playoff lock for me. Donnie, who do you got for your playoff locks?
I wish I could come in here and confidently say that the Bills are going to make it, but with these past 2 weeks, I really don't know, because dropping a somewhat close game to the Jets, game should not have been lost. Josh Allen coming out after the game saying that game was all on him, that he hasn't been playing up to his level, and Josh Allen hasn't been playing up to his level the last couple of weeks. He leads the league in interceptions with 10, which is unheard of for a quarterback so far in the season. Yeah. It's honestly just extremely disappointing for me as a Bills fan. But, I mean, my other playoff locks, obviously, Eagles sitting at 8-0 right now. I don't think anyone's stopping them right now. They got the whole Batman train going. You got Fat Batman at center, Jason Kelsey. That man's pushing the pile all year. I mean, it doesn't get better than the Eagles right now. They're my favorite to win the Super Bowl.
I mean, Kruck, going back to what you said, obviously the 49ers. I really think the 49ers, again, when I thought they got Christian McCaffrey, I thought that changed their team as a whole. I thought just their dynamic as a team was different because I already knew they had a pretty good defense overall. Jimmy Garoppolo, a lot of people thought Trey Lance should be the starter when they first got in, but I always thought Jimmy Garoppolo should have kept being the quarterback as the season started. That might be a hot take for some people, but I believe Jimmy Garoppolo is that type of player. And I mean, one team that, again, people still shouldn't be sleeping on, you mentioned it a little bit, is the Dolphins. From the beginning and when I talked about it, I really liked when the Miami Dolphins got Tyreek Hill. I thought it changed their team as a whole, and Tua has upped his game with the players he's got now. I mean, having Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill has made him and his game get better. And I think that's going to be important as the season goes on, especially in a division that's tough. The AFC East is, like the NFC East, a tough division, right? And right now, I could see the Dolphins winning it. Obviously, seeing it, if the Bills keep playing the way they are, they got to fix their mistakes. They got to be able to win those tight games. And looking at it as well, the Jets, I mean, I think the Jets are not a bad team. Problem is Zach Wilson always going to be that guy consistent? And if he's not going to be that guy, I don't see them doing a big run in the playoffs, like Miami and whatever. So I like the Dolphins. I mean, the Bengals, real quick, I think if they can be consistent every week, I think you're right. They should be a lock. If they're not going to be consistent every week, being a fan of them, then I don't think they'll get in. So that's my opinion about the Cincinnati Bengals.
Going down the list of my other teams, so I've talked about my Super Bowl likelies, playoff locks. I got a couple teams on my no promise section. So no promises means, not exactly in the hunt,
Yep.
but you kind of have to step it up because the teams that are in the hunt are going to step it up as well.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants, the Jets, the Titans, the Cowboys, the Chargers, and the Rams. So the Rams, they are currently on that Super Bowl slump. They won it, and they're just taking the rest of the year off. If they can step it up, they can make a decent playoff chance. The Cowboys just falling to the Packers by what, 3 points?
3 points.
1 point
overtime.
something?
Yep, 3 points in overtime.
I mean, they're going to be close. The Titans, Derrick Henry just has to start producing how he used to. He's getting up there in age, but if he keeps producing how he used to, he'll be up there. The Giants coming out of nowhere. This is Daniel Jones's contract year, and I mean, I'd give him a contract at this point. The Jets, they started off with Flacco, and he did all right. Now they're coming back with Zach Wilson and still doing all right. I mean, I'd keep him going. And then looking at my needs to pick it up section, kind of in the hunt, you got the Packers, the Bucks, the Colts, the Cardinals, and the Panthers. You can never rule out Tom Brady. You can't. You can never rule out Tom Brady.
Oh, no.
But a Gisele's Tom Brady, that's something we've never seen before. We haven't seen Tom Brady without his family, without his wife behind him, and it seems to be affecting him. I mean, they're, 5-5 right now? That's kind of
Somehow
that's
they're in first
abysmal for
place.
Tom Brady.
Yeah. No. I agree with you.
5-4, I
Yeah,
think.
sorry to cut you off,
No, you're
Donnie,
good.
but hey, I'll tell you this though about obviously the Bucks, right? I think from a perspective from them, obviously being 5-5, somehow they're in a division that's just horrible. We didn't expect to have obviously the Falcons to be there and the Panthers to mess up. So if you're the Bucks right now, I feel a little bit optimistic going in, just like the situation is. You find a way to win a division, but here's the thing: the top 4 seeds in all conferences host a home game. The team that they possibly could play, if they're still in the 4 or 5 spot, probably will be better than them if the record they are keeps where they are right now. And so that's something to keep in mind as well when you look at the Bucks. I think it's just got to be, can they have a running game? I'm not worried about Tom Brady and passing, because he can throw for 270, 300 yards, right? But if they don't have a consistent running back with Fournette and Rashad White, I don't see the Bucks going far, obviously, into the playoffs.
Absolutely not. And then basically my just wait for 2023 teams. Number 1 is my team, the Bears. The Bears, I mean, Justin Fields has been showing out the last 2-3 weeks, but it's too little too late. The Commanders, the Browns, the Lions, the Broncos, Steelers, Raiders, and then the Texans. I mean, and the Saints. This year's not going to be your guys' year. Start losing, start tanking for the draft, honestly, is the best advice I can give. Tank for the draft, try to get better. Get rid of some of your good players and go into a rebuild. I mean, as long as you're not the Chicago Cubs and you go into a 102-year rebuild, I think you'll be okay.
108.
Pardon me. But transitioning gears into college football, what we actually like to play. Before we get started with NCAA Division I, we're going to talk about NAIA currently. The NAIA regular season football has just concluded, and we've just had our postseason playoff bracket set up. And for the first time ever, Avila University is going to be in the NAIA playoffs. And all three of us are actually on that team.
Yeah.
So, congrats to you guys. It's been an absolute honor playing with you guys. I just had my senior night a couple days ago. I mean, I couldn't have wished for better people to have my last home game with. But the work's not done. It's not over yet. We got to keep pushing forward. We have Indiana Wesleyan. Looking at them, I mean, you guys have seen bits and pieces of them. What do you guys think from a defensive standpoint, Max?
Well, Kruck, first of all, I've actually been to Indiana Wesleyan's campus twice. Being there from Ohio, it's only about 3 or 4 hours away from where I'm from. From an offensive perspective, their offensive side, I think they have explosive pieces. From a couple of games I saw, just scores-wise, they beat a team 77-20, which is very impressive. They beat a team 69-20, and their lone loss for Indiana Wesleyan was against an FCS team in Valparaiso, which they only lost by 3 points. And so obviously Valparaiso's it's not one of the bigger FCS teams, right? But still, think about it. If they're almost keeping it close with an FCS team, they're a team that you can't sleep on. And so I think they'll have an explosive offense. And like I said, the defense is just, we got to bring pressure. I think that's going to be the most important part. And we just got to do is not let the quarterback be explosive with his legs and with his arm.
Absolutely. Avila's really stepped it up this year defensively.
Oh, yeah.
Having the best defense Avila's ever put on the field before, led by captain Nick Furlow, other middle linebacker Joey Mars, and that's actually your specialty, Don. Tell us a little bit more about the linebacker duo there.
I mean, it doesn't get better than Nick Furlow and Joey Mars. I mean, I went to high school with Joey. I've known the type of athlete he is for the last 5-6 years, and it's unheard of. Joey is incredibly smart when it comes to reading an offense, knowing where the ball is going to be, and making that tackle. I mean, and then Nick Furlow's right there to back it up. Joey's going to plug a hole. Nick Furlow's going to find that open gap. Nick Furlow's going to make that tackle if Joey's not there to make it. They complement each other extremely well, and I don't think you see a better linebacker duo in the NAIA or, honestly, in my opinion, in all of college football.
And it's not very often where you have multiple defensive players of the week that aren't in your, top 2 defensive players. You look at Monty Tony for the Eagles, added this year, and he's one of the bright spots now on this Avila football roster, winning KCAC Player of the Week 3 times, something like that.
Maybe twice. Yeah.
I mean, he was absolutely setting the world on fire. You cannot sleep on Jose Batista. He's going to be a solid player on the edge. Our defensive backs, you got
Terrell Valentine,
Max Weber. Yep.
Max Weber, and then you got safety, you got DJ Johnson, and then you got Keytron Jones.
I mean, they're going to be absolute stud players as well. There's not really a weak spot in the defense on paper-wise, but as we all know, college football, you get a whole week to prep for one game. So you get a whole week to prep for 60 minutes. They're going to find something they want to attack. We're just going to have to be able to adapt to it and plan forward. On the offensive side of the ball, Donnie, you're one of the old linemen here. What are some things that maybe not we have to plan against, but what are some things we have to just assure up on the offensive side of the ball moving forward?
I believe that the biggest game plan is going to be when we get our deep shots downfield, we have to capitalize on them. Because with our offensive run game, Malik Nesbitt, he's going to rush for 100 yards a game. That's honestly kind of a given on most games. But this week it's going to be tough. But I think the key for this Avila offense this week is going to be having their O-line play the game of their lives. With 3 freshmen starting O-linemen that have done a really good job this year, it's really going to take them to play double what they've been putting out so far to beat this Indiana Wesleyan team.
Absolutely. We talked about Indiana Wesleyan's only loss against Valparaiso by 3 points. Avila's only got 1 loss against Southwestern, who is a higher seed. That was also by 3 points.
Yeah.
So both teams going in with 1 loss, both losses being 3 points. It's going to be a battle of the 1-loss teams, and I think Avila is going to pull this one out. I think it'll be a close game to halftime. I can see Avila winning it by 10, maybe 14 points.
Guess I hope so, Kruck. I mean, like I said, they're a good team, so like we said, hopefully we can get it done.
All right, we're going to jump into the top 10 of the AP college football polls. And Max, who do you think, in your opinion, shouldn't be in the top 10?
All right, that's actually a pretty good question. Well, after this week, I think the Oregon Ducks are definitely not going to be in the top 10. Obviously, them losing to Washington is obviously a big blow for them, and for the Pac-12 itself. I mean, maybe the only hope the Pac-12 has, and I kind of have opinions about USC, right, and how USC played. Yes, their only loss was to Utah with a high-scoring game, 45-43. That's obviously something you can't keep in mind because that's probably the only the shot for the Pac-12. For me, though, just the most clear team that should be in the top 10 is Clemson, and here's why I say Clemson. Their strength of schedule is not that great. The ACC is not that good overall. And their quarterback play has not been consistent with DJ, Yuga, Lele, whatever his name is. And I personally think they need to move over to Cade Klubnik, in my opinion. They need to move over to him and see if he's going to be the future, obviously, for that program. So I would probably say Clemson, Kruck, out of the top 10 so far, shouldn't be in there.
Looking at my two, I also said Clemson. I think it should actually be number 15, Washington. Number 15, Washington. Their strength of schedule is kind of iffy as well, but I mean, they're doing really good. They're 8-2. Yeah. Clemson's 9-1, so I mean, one game difference, but Washington's been playing their hearts out lately, and they just had a huge win over Texas
Oregon.
Oregon this weekend. That was a huge game. The other team that I don't think should be in there is Utah. I think they should flip with Penn State, who's in the 11th seed. Because I personally like Penn State's offense better than Utah's offense. Their defense is about the same, but I would say Penn State's offense is better than Utah's offense, in my opinion. Any comments, Donnie?
I'm going to come in with a kind of a hot take here. I don't think that the undefeated Horned Frogs should be in the top 10. I think that this year, the Big 12 is an extremely soft conference, with OU sitting at 5-5, sitting at a solid 500, which is unheard of in the past decade for Oklahoma at all. And then Oklahoma State dropping 2-3 games now. It's pretty ridiculous. I mean, there is no clear-cut top of that conference. And right now, I think it's kind of a Mickey Mouse ring for them this year. I don't think that TCU should be in the top 10 or any chance to go in the college football playoff.
It's getting a little hot in here with all these hot takes, Max. My goodness.
Yeah, okay, so I'll say this about this, Donnie, right? I think TCU, for now, is supposed to be in the college football playoff. And I'll say this why. Because TCU as a team looks still, and they showed it against Texas the last couple weeks, looks like still a complete team. They're trying to come into their offense, Max Duggan. They have beat kind of some good opponents into the Big 12. And looking at the SEC, I mean, obviously Alabama's not going to be in the picture. We already know them's going to be gone with 2 losses. The only 2-loss team that might have a shot if somehow they beat Georgia, which is going to be a long shot, is LSU. That's the only team I believe that's the 2-loss that might be able to get into the top 4. And looking at it, probably just say, predicting my top 4 for the week, obviously it'll change every week until we get to the real rankings coming up. I think it probably will stay the same. I think it probably will still be Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and TCU. And obviously Ohio State, Michigan will play itself out in a couple weeks. So I already know one of those teams is going to go gone. And so then to me, the question is, does Tennessee or USC jump into the top 4? Because Tennessee still, yes, they have 1 loss, but still, they are in a good spot right now that even if somehow, say, LSU loses, that's already going to get them out of the picture. And the only team I feel like is a lock is Georgia. To me, if Georgia wins out and Ohio State or whoever Michigan wins out, they are in the playoff for sure. TCU and everybody else is not a lock to be in the playoff looking at it. I don't know what you guys think, but that's just my thought process.
Looking at it, and I mean, Donnie already took the candle for the hot take, but I'm going to fan the flames a little bit. I do not like Ohio State. I'll be the first one to tell you I don't like Ohio State. There's only one team I hate more than Ohio State, and it's Notre Dame. But I think Ohio State should be number 1. I think they should be number 1 over Georgia because Ohio State, in my opinion, has played better opponents than Georgia has played. Don't get me wrong, Georgia, they play tough opponents. But when it comes to a consistent league, as we talked about earlier, with TCU's, little league not really being all that much this year, there's always one league that will always, till the day I pass away and roll over in my grave, be a hard league to win.
SEC.
And that is the Big Ten.
Whoa.
The Big Ten will always be a tough matchup. Tough. You go back to when Russell Wilson was slinging the rock for Wisconsin.
Right,
Illinois had a terrible year, but they were still putting up points. Michigan will always be good. Ohio State will always be good. Nebraska, Wisconsin, Illinois. They may not be in the playoffs every year, but they're not just going to roll
Kirk,
over.
let me pause you right here. Okay. Over the last decade, head to head, you put the SEC's best against the Big 12's best. Big 10, sorry, I apologize. Big 12 would throw them in the garbage. But you put the SEC and the Big 10 together over the last decade. Which conference is winning?
The SEC.
Okay. That's all I needed. That's all I needed.
Before we go to the next thing, I'll just say this, right? I appreciate Kruck's thing because I am an Ohio State fan, right? So I appreciate the wisdom and everything he says about it. But for me, being realistic, I still got to say the SEC overall. And I just want to get your point about Georgia's competition, right? Beating Oregon, right? 49-3 the first game of the year. To me, that is a big-time win looking at it overall. We look at their next opponent, Tennessee. At the time, I thought Tennessee was one of the best teams out there. I thought Hendon Hooker was going to be great. They beat him with a great defense, 27-13. Ohio State, now granted, they played Notre Dame. They've gotten better. Marcus Freeman has kind of turned it around. But their opponents have not been up to the strength, same as Michigan as well. Michigan, to me, if they don't win, they're gone because their strength schedule is horrible. I mean, horrible. I mean, you play, what? You played Hawaii, UConn. I mean, yeah, UConn's what? They're going to be bowl eligible for what? Maybe the first time in a while, but I don't care. That doesn't matter to me. So
it's not UConn.
It's not UConn women's basketball. So, overall though, I would still say the SEC is still better than the Big Ten. But hey, I still gotta love the Big Ten because I'm a Buckeye fan.
For sure. And I'm the same way, but with the Big 12. I mean, I hate to say that the Big 12 has gone soft, but it has. I mean, you look at the playoff selection committee going into rankings on Monday. They've got to be looking at TCU with the Big 12 lineage in the playoffs and saying, I don't know if we can put them in because I mean, look at OU. They've gotten blown out in their last 2 or 3
They're just not good this year. They're not.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Talking about the Kyler Murray Sooners, they lost to I think Bama in the Sugar Bowl. This was back. Yeah. This was a couple years back. But I mean, the Big 12 doesn't have good luck in the playoffs. They continue to get blown out.
That's true.
All right, and one last thing on college football. I have to talk about them because, I mean, honestly, it's not my number one team, but it is one of my teams. The Liberty Flames are receiving votes right now for, the top 25 when it comes to AP polls. They received 15 votes. Honestly, yeah, they did drop a game in this last weekend, but I could see them making a bowl game 100% without a doubt. I think they're going to end up making one of the smaller bowls. They're not going to work their way up into the top 10 anytime soon.
Oh, no.
But they're going to have a nice little run at the end of the season to win out. But now let's transition into what everybody's been waiting for, the fantasy draft in which we are going to select. Let me pull up my cheat sheet for everybody. We're going to select 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 O lineman, 1 D lineman, a linebacker, and a DB. So 7 different positions, and you're going to pick 7 players. We're going to go in a snake order, so it's fair. The stipulation, these are U.S. presidents, not normal players. These are U.S. presidents. So we're going to go around the room. We're going to start with Max, go to Donnie, and then myself, and then we're going to work back for running backs. You're taking 1 person at each position, and you can go in any order you want. Doesn't have to be your QB first. So Max, first pick of the 2022 President's Fantasy Draft. Who are you taking and at what position?
Well, looking at my draft, I'm going to start with my running back, and I feel like the running back is going to be important. I'm going to take Theodore Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt is mine. And I really think, because you think about Teddy Roosevelt, he is a general, and he's obviously led through a lot of wars. I mean, Pacific Wars. I mean, he's been through a lot of battles before he came into president. And I thought that was obviously very cool. Obviously, being a running back, right? You want to be very tough and minded and everything. I thought he has that mindset to be a running back, and so I guess that's my number 1 for running back.
I'm going to go to a more unknown president for my next pick. It's going to be I'm going to also pick my running back, and I'm going to go with the 21st president, Chester Arthur, sitting at 6'2", 225 pounds. The man is a man. He's built. This dude is going to run through any gap that you give him because you know what? The man was in the New York militia before we even had our military. Before we had our military, the man was protecting New York. So that's my pick. Chester Arthur, 6'2", 225.
All right. Kind of
Well,
out of nowhere there, Kruck. What you got?
I'm not taking a running back. I'm taking a quarterback for my first round pick. Give me G.W. George Washington, first
course.
president of America. He's a great leader through and through. I mean, he led the American military before it was even like a fully formed military. He led Americans through a war and won it with the powerhouse of the world, England. Quite literally, the sun did not set on England at this time. And he said, our 13 colonies are going to show you guys what's up. So he's going to be my quarterback. And now for my second pick, I'm going to go with my linebacker, and I'm going to take Dwight Eisenhower. Eisenhower served as the supreme commander of the Allied expeditionary force, probably messed up that word, in Europe, and he was a 5-star general. You want to talk about another leader? He led the Allied forces in World War II. He is my leader of the defense. Donnie, second pick.
I'm going to go ahead and take it before anyone else can. As you know, I'm an offensive lineman. Got to give love to my big boys. I'm going to go with William Howard Taft for my offensive line. I mean, it doesn't get bigger than that, okay? Man got stuck in a bathtub. You ever gotten cut out of a bathtub? No, because you're not that big. He's going to run you over, and then it's over. I mean, you're done. You get William Howard Taft on you, you're dying. You're not going to be able to breathe. It's simple. Smash mouth O-line football. That's what we're going to have here.
Smash mouth O-line football. Wow, that was actually a great pick. That was something I was going to choose. But I guess, keeping with the O-line trade, because, hey, before Kruck tries to probably get his O-lineman possibly beforehand, I'm going to take Grover Cleveland as an O-lineman. And I'll take him as this because obviously Taft was one of my first choices, but Cleveland, again, another big body, fat kind of guy, president, and hey, he served, 2 terms, I believe? He had 1 term, and then he came back, then he was another
He's
term.
the 22nd and the 24th.
22nd, yeah, okay, so there you go.
Like that,
so
yeah.
he also's got, maybe he's got some longevity, maybe. We'll put it as that, I guess, because he had a couple of terms. And I thought that'd just be a good pickup just for an O-lineman. So I know Kruck was not happy with that, so I guess I get to go for my third pick. And so for that, I'm going to probably go with my wide receiver, Landon B. Johnson. Yep, as 6 foot, 3.5 inch, over Abe Lincoln. That is tough, right? Because a lot of people thought I would take Abe Lincoln and go with it. But I'm taking Lyndon B. Johnson. Through his time, obviously, we talk about right around civil rights time, 1960s. And I thought, a reliable person and has some height, too. He is mentioned a 6 foot, 3.5 inches, according to what I figured out. And that's still pretty tall for a wide receiver. So, yeah, I didn't take Abe Lincoln. You guys, maybe if you want him, a wide receiver. But, hey, I took Lyndon B. Johnson for wide receiver, so...
Well,
I'm
going to be thoroughly disappointed with that pick from Max because I had Lyndon B. Johnson as my quarterback. So, back to the draft board for me. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and take the pick Max should have taken and take Abe Lincoln as my wide receiver. 6'4", 180, Emancipation Proclamation, man of the people. The fans are going to love him. I love him personally. I mean, it doesn't get better than Abe Lincoln. I mean, you think of presidents, you think of the tall hat, you think of the Ford Theater. And then... No, but I mean, it doesn't get better than Abe Lincoln. One of the top tier presidents, and I mean, yeah, just simple as that. We'll go to Kruck for his next pick.
And just so I don't get picks mixed up, who was your first pick, Donnie?
Mine was Chester Arthur is my running back.
All right. Okay, well, a lot of great picks taken off the board. That's for sure. I'm an O-lineman as well, and this might be a controversial pick. But I'm going to take him simply because of what he has to put up with on a daily basis. I'm going to go with Bill Clinton at my O-line.
Wow.
So, I mean, O-lineman...
No.
O-lineman...
Bill Clinton is an O-lineman?
But hear me out. O-linemen never
didn't
get
hear
any
this.
glory, right?
Yeah.
He got glory. Monica Lewinsky,
No.
Oval Office.
O-linemen never get any positive glory, right?
Okay.
I just want to hear why, just because his stature's not like an O-lineman.
No, he's
So
not
just
a big
explain,
guy.
just explain
Well, I
that.
mean, he's 6'2", 185, so he's a little skinny. He's more like a tackle, right?
Okay.
But when O-linemen mess up, that's when you hear about them.
Mm.
When O-linemen do well and the team wins, you hear about the
that's
running
a
back,
valid
the
point.
quarterback,
True.
the wide receivers. So I'm going to pick him because, honestly, like, if you have to deal with what he has to deal with on a daily basis, I really don't think being an O-lineman is going to be that difficult for him. And also, everything he ever did professionally pretty much got overshadowed by other people. Like, when he was in office, some of the things that he did positively for America got overshadowed by Monica Lewinsky, got overshadowed by his wife's questionable decisions, which this is not a political thing, so we're not going to go into it. But, I mean, he's always been overshadowed by other people, and it's just, he would be a perfect O-lineman because he doesn't need the glory to really just, you know, be effective. So, currently I have a I have a middle linebacker. I have a quarterback. I have an O-lineman. My two wide receivers are already off the board, which is kind of tough, but I'm going to take my D-line right away. I'm going to go with Herbert Hoover. President Hoover was a pretty good D lineman pick. I mean, as a D lineman, you want someone to plug up holes, right? You want them to prevent anything from getting through, and one of the biggest American monuments is the Hoover Dam. And I mean, quite literally, that prevents water from getting through. If you can prevent water from getting through somewhere, you can definitely prevent a running back from getting through a hole. So I'm going to take him as my fourth pick. Donnie, who's your fourth pick?
I think I'm going to go to the defensive side of the ball here, and I'm going to go with my defensive back. And I'm going to pick president number 44. I got to go with Barack Obama. I mean, as we saw throughout his presidency, man played basketball with LeBron James, Steph Curry. The guy is an athlete. The man is an athlete. Simple as that. I mean, sitting at 6'1", 180, he's going to make sure that our anywhere past our linebackers is in no-fly zone, and it'll stay that way.
Wow, okay, you guys took a couple of my defensive guys. Obviously, I kind of wanted to have Herbert Hoover as my D tackle, lost that, and then Barack Obama, obviously, as my DB. But I guess I'm going to try to take one of my linebackers. I want to get on defense, and I'm going to take Ronald Reagan as one of my linebackers. And it's an interesting choice, as I think Ronald Reagan is a guy that's kind of a built kind of structure, but also he did a lot of things throughout his presidency. You had the whole time with, it was the Cold War situation, ending that. I think that's important for a linebacker. You want to have the leadership skills. I think Reagan had that in his presidency. And I think that's just very important. So before anyone else takes Ronald Reagan, I guess I want to take him a linebacker. So let's see. Oh, I got to go again. My fault with the thing. So I'm going to get my quarterback in the situation. This one's interesting. I don't know what you guys will think about this, but Andrew Jackson at quarterback. Interesting. It's an interesting one. It's a lot of people. I was thinking possibly maybe it was George Washington, but then I had Thomas Jefferson maybe on my mind. But Andrew Jackson, to me, I thought was probably maybe like a quarterback stature. I mean, there were some bad things Andrew Jackson did. I mean, we talk about the whole Trail of Tears and Native American reservation thing. But hey, a quarterback is going to do some things good and he's going to do things some bad, right? And so you got to be able to adjust with both things in mind. So for me, I'm going to take Andrew Jackson for my quarterback, which looks like I finished up my offensive side. So, Donnie, you are up. What do we got for your pick?
Well, I'm going to take a more recent president for my next pick. We're going to go down to the defensive line, and I'm going to take number 45, Donald J. Trump. And I will take him because, as we saw those pictures of him playing tennis, the man has a dump truck of a bottom, okay? No one is going to be able to move that man's hindquarters out of the gap. He's plugging up A gap. He's plugging B gap. He's coming off the edge. It doesn't freaking matter. Donald Trump will be making plays and putting pressure on that QB for my defensive unit.
You know, Donnie, I love you, man.
I love you guys
Dump
too.
truck. How about that? How about that, Kruck?
I mean, hear me out. Whatever he doesn't take up, his Twitter account followers are going to fill in the
Yeah,
other gaps.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's like a 2-for-1
He gets
pick.
the army with him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, okay. How do you follow that up?
Shoot.
I really don't.
Wow. I mean, well, I got to go with my DB, and I'm going to take George H.W. Bush. I mean, he flew in the Air Force. He's used to controlling airspace. I mean, he's used to controlling area, keeping things on lockdown. I got to go with George H.W. Bush. And then I guess it is back to me for my other pick. You know what? This one's kind of out of the hat, but I really like this pick at my running back. Give me Ulysses S. Grant. I mean, Ulysses S. Grant is a solid running back. Almost every photo you see, he's on a horse, so he was probably a shorter guy. But running backs don't need to be a Derrick Henry built kind of guy. They could be a smaller, more compact. Exactly. They could be a smaller, more compact kind of guy. They just got to hit the hole. And honestly, I'm looking for like a triple option kind of production from this guy. 3 to 4 yards per play. I'm not hoping for a big breakaway, blazing speed. But 3 to 4 yards is all I'm looking for out of him. Donnie, who's your come back with your 6th pick?
Well, kind of waited a little too long. A lot of the good presidents with good stature are off the board now. But I'm gonna go with George W. Bush as my quarterback, and I'm gonna tell you why. I mean, the man's got to have a rocket for an arm. I mean, to pull off something like 9/11, it's pretty insane. I'm just kidding. But I mean, he's a big guy. I mean, dude took a lot of flack in his day as president. That's what you need as a quarterback. You got to be able to handle pressure, and I think George Bush handled pressure well. I don't really know. I wasn't really alive during his presidency, but I mean, yeah, I'm gonna stick with that pick.
Wow, all my picks are getting gone for all you guys. Now I'm in the whole defensive side. I'm gonna now backtrack again. I'm not having my first option or whatever. Now looking at the presidency, my DB I'm gonna go with is Richard Nixon. It's an interesting one, but I'm picking Richard Nixon as a DB because he's a small in stature kind of guy, and yeah, I mean, think about it this way. Obviously, with the whole situation, the Watergate, everything happened. There was bad stuff happening to Richard Nixon at the time, but obviously, being as a DB, obviously, there's things you got to find a way to recover. He really didn't recover that much, obviously, in the presidency. He had to get himself fired after all that whole situation. But I think as, being a DB, hopefully he can quick recover, has that short stature, and I'll take him at DB. And am I going again? Or is it, okay, I get to go again. So now let's take a look. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go, okay. A president hasn't been named, and I'm going to take linebackers. Kruck hooked my guy Ulysses S. Grant for running back. I want him in my linebacker. But I'm going to take this one. This is out of the hat a little bit. William McKinley at linebacker. Interesting pick. It might be a little off-fetch. His stature, just looking at it to me, kind of looks like a linebacker kind of type guy. And, I mean, McKinley wasn't the most known president. Only had one term that he obviously been through back from 1897 to 1901. So, yeah, that's a long time, everybody. So, but I think that was very important as well. So, I'm going to take William McKinley as mine. So, you up?
I guess this is the final pick of the squad.
Yeah.
And who else to end off with than the leader of my defense? And that's going to be FDR as my linebacker. I mean, the New Deal, it doesn't get better than the New Deal. Couldn't tell you what it means, but that's thanks to the Oklahoma public education that I received. But FDR was a big man. He was a big man, rest in peace. But 6'2", 180 pounds, that's a nice size for a linebacker. Would like to have a little bit more meat on the bones, but he's going to be quicker. He's going to get to the outside. He's going to be able to make plays.
All right, and the last pick of this fantasy draft is going to be my pick. And at wide receiver, well, since my wide receiver is my last pick, we're probably not going to be throwing the ball all that much. But it's going to be the 8th president of the United States. I'll give you guys a second to guess for all you history nerds out there.
Van Buren.
It is Martin Van Buren. Why am I taking him? It's not because of his facial hair.
Because his haircut.
Because he has none. It's because of the last name.
Oh.
If you can imagine Van Buren on a jersey, a wide receiver jersey, are you thinking about guarding him? No.
Okay, well, look.
He's a DK Metcalf of a wide receiver. This man's just going to roll over people. He's going to hit them hard, get up, suplex from the top rope, keep going, catch the ball, and then he's not even going to know how to celebrate when he scores because he's so old. He's just going to have a casket on the sideline when he needs a rest real quick. They usually only give the air masks on humid or high altitude games. He's going to need one when he plays at the Superdome or, a climate controlled place.
He's playing in Jerry's World and he's dying.
Man. Well, okay, so I guess for mine, I still got to pick myself a D tackle on my roster, and it's just Sorry, I'm just trying to get off from Kruck's explanation for that one. Okay, so like I said, all my guys that I kind of wanted were off. Maybe this is a stretch, but we'll see. Rutherford B. Hayes as my D tackle. Rutherford B. Hayes, looking at it, he served both from 1877 to 1881. He has a big stature, and you kind of need that, obviously, from what the situation was. And obviously, again, in that kind of time frame, right after Ulysses S. Grant, so had to take over, and I think that's going to be important to, help clog up my defense. So, finish up my draft, I got Rutherford B. Hayes for my defense tackle.
All right, perfect. And then we're just going to run through them once again for everybody at home to get a quick understanding of who's who. For Max Williams, he's got it as running back. And if I'm wrong on any of these, let me know. His running back is Teddy Roosevelt.
Yep.
Wide receiver is LBJ. Your O-lineman is Grover. Your linebacker is Ronald Reagan.
Yep.
Your quarterback is Jackson. DB is Nixon. And your D tackle is Hayes. Sound right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And for Donnie, his team goes Abe Lincoln at wide receiver, Taft at O-line, Chester Arthur, you had him at running back. Obama's your quarterback. The dump truck, Trump, is going to be your D tackle. Your QB is going to be Bush Jr. and FDR will be your middle linebacker.
I'm going to correct you here. Obama is my DB.
Yeah.
Pardon me. Obama is your DB.
Oh, good. Yes, that is the winning squad.
And then Kruck squad is Bill Clinton at O-line, George W. at quarterback, Dwight Eisenhower at linebacker, Hoover at D tackle, George H.W. Bush at DB, Ulysses S. Grant at running back, and then Von Buren is going to be my wide receiver. Make sure to let us know down in the comments who you think's going to win, if this actually played, and, well, let's just go ahead and say it. What team would your team play for? Pick an NFL team that your team's going to represent. We'll start with Donnie.
I've got a lot of age on my sheet, except for, obviously, Trump and Obama. But, I think I'm going to go throwback. I'm going to say that we're the Houston Oilers.
All right. We got the Houston Oilers. Max, what team you repping?
Well, okay, so my team has, like I said, a bunch of, old, kind of some new presidents on there, kind of recently. I don't know. Maybe since I just like them, it's not anything. I'm just gonna pick the Bengals. It's not that this year's Bengals, obviously no, because Andrew Jackson's an old president. Obviously, you'd have to put him in this. Maybe we can put him back to maybe the Super Bowl days. Let's put him back to there when they had a chance to win the Super Bowl, but lost to the 49ers. So let's not have that happen again.
Well, I personally only liked this team when Travis Frederick played on it, but since it is America's team and America chooses the presidents, my team will represent the Dallas Cowboys. America's team, America's presidents. I feel like that's a good solid pick. Otherwise, I might have went the Patriots, but I don't want Bill Belichick telling me how to coach my team. I want to take command on this one, all right? So that'll do it for this episode of Crunch Time. We'd love to thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to check out Crunch Time. It's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, wherever you find them. And if you don't see them there, please feel free to reach out on YouTube in one of the comment sections and just let us know where you watch your podcast or listen, and we'll try to upload them where you find them. Until next time, this is Mad Max, Kruck, our guest star, Donnie Berry. We're signing out. Everybody have a great night, and make sure you do your Christmas shopping early because Black Friday deals are a scam. You're here first. Until next time.